Hey everybody, Shannon Scott with Grave Talk, coming back with our third installation of Edgar Cemetery in Paris, Illinois. I hope I said that throughout the video, that it's not Paris, Kentucky, where they have a great cemetery too, and very French inspired. A lot of French stuff in Kentucky. A lot of Huguenots ended up here, and it's interesting. So I was just walking by and I saw this beautiful baby lamb representation of two lambs, one resting on the head of the other, which invokes a certain sense of protection and also sadness. Fairly an illegible headstone. You know, I was thinking as I was coming along today or through the cemetery, that sometimes there's something really powerful about speaking the names of the dead on headstones, but more so inscriptions, because one day, I mean, as you're there reading it aloud, and that puts an energy into the air, a vibration in the air, you could be a part of the last people to really, maybe even the last person, to actually spend some time reading a headstone, enunciating it, and of course that invokes the ancient concept of logos, you know, that speech is power, speech is our kind of magic wand. You know, we create with speech, logos, which is, you know, very much a kind of a reference to Genesis. And, you know, we are blessed with certain powers. And that's one of our great tools. I think that's why, realizing my own father had been a DJ, my biological father, not my wonderful father that adopted me, but, you know, you have to think about how we use words to wield and conjure and craft and all that stuff. But anyway, I think sometimes it's just really special that you're reading an inscription out loud, because it's almost like a prayer in a way. And at the same time, it could be faded in another 5 years or 10, gone altogether. There's some out here that are just gone. You can see it's like a full paragraph. Maybe a family member wrote it, but you know, it's like you're also recording it for people who may encounter, or I am and others, you know, that headstone after it's long gone. They might like, oh, that's a cool headstone. I wish I could read it, you know. Maybe there'll be some reference for it online or in the cloud or wherever, and they'll be able to hear you reading it on the spot. That may be what AI ultimately is good for. But anyway, McKinley. You know, I was trying to look up all these folks. Robert Lang with his great family crest of some kind. I'm not sure if he was, looks like he was a Knights of Pythias, maybe. His wife Margaret here. I think there is a scholarship that is given out now, or scholarships plural. But this is a big civic family of Paris, Illinois. They had a lot to do with a lot. Except I'm not here to get into their genealogy, because that would just be a rabbit hole. There's a lot online about the family, but you definitely you know, may want to read into it. You know, there is sort of this legend about the Devil's Chair, and it's really interesting. Someone called it pink granite. No. The main monument is pink granite. The small chair is actually marble, and it looks like it used to be here on that pedestal, or sorry, the foundation stone that's flat in front of it. In fact, I'm not entirely convinced that this McKinley monument is the original. Everything here strikes me as being a little older. Again, I could be wrong, but the foundation tells me there may have been something here earlier. But, you know, that's just a guess. I could be completely wrong, which is fine. But the marble chair may predate the McKinley family monument, the main stone. It looks older. So I'm going to go with that. And it may have been somewhere else first. So it looks like it could have traveled. You know, I found one family member died young at 14, but I don't really see any infants. So I thought, well, maybe that, because it's a small chair, it's a child's grave. Notice they have perpetual care, which is that old contract. That's the only marker I've seen out here left. I'm sure many of these rich families had that. But we see some little tassels, and, you know, one of the arm handles is gone, and it's very much a something you would find in a harem. You know, this is where like some sort of Middle Eastern sheik might have sat or something of that effect. So it kind of invokes, you know, just sort of the Middle East and the fascination with the Victorians, like the Rubaiyat poem that was so famous and that type of thing. So it has kind of an Orientalism about it. It also makes me think of those chairs they would carry people in, you know, like Cleopatra or what have you through the world. I'm not here to ascribe anything devilish to it. I'm sorry for the people that want to know about the devil's chair, but the legend is if you touch it or you sit in it and it feels warm, then you are basically full of the devil or filled with the devil. And, you know, no, it's really, hate to disappoint the urban legenders. I mean, it does sit in the sun all day, so this is a monument that would hold heat into the evening. Maybe even all night, hard to say. But I'm not going to sit in it. I would just tell people again, the dead don't care, but the people that take care of these things do care. So please don't trespass on the monument, which, by the way, in some states is a third-class felony, especially if you break it. But all that said, let's just protect these things. You can talk about them in whatever way you want, but let's just not violate their integrity with climbing on them, sitting on them. I know it's very inviting, but the empty chair, I think, is just really a symbol about the person that you loved no longer in their chair. I mean, that's about as devilish as it gets, which isn't all that devilish. It's more about the sentiment and the memory, and it's very tender. It's a very tender statement. And I'm sure, you know, the kids that came out here on picnicking Sundays, because that's what these places really were for too. It's where you came after church. I'm sure the kids sat in the chair. I get it. But let's protect it for a while. Obviously, it broke at some point, so let's not damage it anymore. But yeah, this is what draws people to the cemetery sometimes, the devil's chair, which I would think the devil would have something a little more gothic-y and devilish looking. It's much more invoking of, I'd say, the Middle East and the Victorian age and things like that. But not to say that they weren't into wonderful art with the devils. But yeah, I think the McKinley family is safe. This family really came from Scotland, which I associate a lot of these Scottish names with the fancy family crests and all the fraternal orders as being a part of the manifest destiny of, you know, the Masons and other fraternal orders that kind of went out there to establish, you know, civilization and do big things, you know, tied into those organizations. So there's no doubt in my mind that there's a lot of fraternal order stuff going on here. But yeah, Scottish right here, some Scottish over there with their pillars, and they're highly decorated with, you know, some of that symbolism. And then we see the Augustus name yet again there on that obelisk, which is, you know, controversial in the history of things. Not every, you know, there were protests against them. Church ladies got together. They protested the pagan era objects, which, you know, I mean, it depends on how you, again, interpret the symbol, you know, what group is kind of using it for their own purposes. But it is really ultimately kind of a Christian sword. But it's also about the light bearer, which can be associated with the devil. And that's often the reference in some of that fraternal order language, the light bearer. So that's something to think about. But yeah, I don't think there's much devilish to the chair, guys, but it is very cute. It's ornamental. You see these from time to time in cemeteries. I've seen them especially around Illinois and the Midwest. So that's kind of unique too. Like, why did that become a thing? Who started it, right? We may never have the answers, but this is what keeps it all very curious and running around in our brains. Here we've got a family that lost 3 infants. Look at that, with the death notices over kind of broken logs. But guys, that's the McKinley. Those are the McKinleys. We're the McKinleys. And, you know, maybe there's more to learn about them. I may dig into it and share it with you. But we're going to saddle up, say goodbye to Paris, Illinois. And we are headed into Kentucky. So we'll see what other great stuff we find along the way. Thanks for watching. Hang in there. More to come.